Have you ever questioned why so many modern relationships feel suffocating? Why so many men invest their time, energy, money, and emotions only to end up heartbroken and alone? The 19th century philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer foresaw this long ago. This isn't just another philosophical discussion, it's a reality check. Once you uncover the truth, it's impossible to return to the comforting illusion. Schopenhauer didn't romanticize love. He argued that what we often label as love isn't some mystical connection or fairy tale ideal. Instead, he saw it as a biological mechanism, a strategy by nature to ensure reproduction and the survival of the human species. That rush you feel when you meet someone, the butterflies, the obsession, the emotional high. According to Schopenhauer, that's not destiny or soulmates. It's your body and brain cooperating to push you toward procreation. Those overwhelming feelings are nature's bait, luring you into relationships for a purpose beyond your personal happiness, and it gets even more unsettling. Schopenhauer believed that this evolutionary drive doesn't care about your well-being. Whether you end up emotionally shattered, financially drained, or utterly disillusioned, it doesn't matter. All that matters to nature is that the species continues. This explains why people often fall for those who are wrong for them. Why attraction doesn't always lead to healthy connection. Nature's agenda is survival, not your personal fulfillment. Here's where Schopenhauer's vision becomes truly chilling. Over time, society learned how to manipulate this natural impulse, particularly in men. From childhood, men are conditioned, through culture, movies, music, literature, and education, to believe their life's purpose is to find a woman, fall in love, and devote themselves to her happiness. They're taught that to be a real man means to sacrifice, work tirelessly, and put her needs first. But this ideal can be weaponized. Institutions, whether it's the legal system, societal norms, or even consumer culture, can exploit a man's innate drive to love and protect. His instinct to provide and support becomes a tool that others use to their advantage. Schopenhauer saw love not as an enchanting force, but as a kind of trap, one that convinces men to give endlessly, while others take without limit. The passion, the desire to please, the emotional vulnerability, it all plays into nature's script. But when that script is hijacked by social constructs like divorce courts or cultural expectations, the cost is often paid by men. In essence, Schopenhauer's grim forecast was this: love isn't what we've been led to believe. It's a deep, biological force that can be manipulated by nature and by society to keep men sacrificing, striving, and suffering, all under the illusion of romance. Schopenhauer was ahead of his time. He warned about a shift in how love operates, especially in the context of changing gender roles. In the past, love and marriage were framed as mutual partnerships. Despite societal flaws, there was at least an understanding that relationships were built on shared effort and mutual respect. But Schopenhauer observed that as women gained more independence, a positive development in many respects, the dynamics of relationships also changed. He believed love would evolve from a mutual bond to more of a transaction. Think of it as a marketplace. Men offer their time, energy, resources, and attention, while women decide whether it's sufficient. The relationship becomes less about unity and more about negotiation, where one side constantly proves their worth and the other holds the power to approve or reject. Even in the 1800s, Schopenhauer noticed this emerging pattern, and today it's more relevant than ever. Although women historically had fewer legal rights in some areas, divorce was still capable of devastating a man's life in a single blow. Back then, if a man went through a divorce, he could lose everything: his home, his children, and even his social standing. Public opinion often sided with the woman, portraying her as the injured party, while the man carried the burden of blame. Fast forward to the present, and you might assume that the situation has improved for men. But in many ways, Schopenhauer's grim forecast remains as relevant as ever, perhaps even more so. Today, around 80% of divorce proceedings are initiated by women, and for the men involved, the consequences are often severe. They may lose a significant portion of their finances, their homes, and in many cases, custody of their children. Court-ordered alimony and child support can leave them financially exhausted. Schopenhauer foresaw a shift where love would no longer represent mutual support, but rather a mechanism of control, particularly over men. A man may believe he's in a balanced, loving relationship, but in truth, he might be caught in a dynamic where he must constantly prove his worth, while the decision to accept or reject his efforts rests elsewhere. Love, in this view, becomes a one-sided system. Men are expected to give endlessly, yet their emotional and personal needs are frequently overlooked or dismissed. And when the relationship fails, it's often the man who bears the heavier burden. This is the shadow side of love that Schopenhauer warned about, not a condemnation of women, but a critique of how society can manipulate emotional bonds to the detriment of men. Consider the story of Friedrich, a 19th-century German merchant. He was a diligent man who believed he had married wisely, but unbeknownst to him, his wife was funneling his money into her secret lover's business. When Friedrich discovered the betrayal and filed for divorce, he expected justice. Instead, the court sided with her, reflecting the societal belief at the time that women were inherently more vulnerable and deserving of protection, even when in the wrong. Friedrich lost everything: his wealth, his name, and his hope for the future. He died alone, betrayed not only by his wife but by a legal system that failed him. Now think about today. You'd assume society had evolved, yet the patterns persist. Modern family courts still often strip men of their assets, their homes, and sometimes even their children. Despite changes in laws and gender roles, men are frequently cast in the role of provider, and when things unravel, they're often left with nothing. Just as in Friedrich's time, the system still tends to view women as the protected party, regardless of context. Schopenhauer saw this danger centuries ago, and the world he warned about remains startlingly familiar. The faces may have changed, but the structure has not. Today, men are constantly told to be emotionally open, to share their feelings, express vulnerability, and reveal their inner struggles. Therapists, educators, and media often frame this as a form of emotional intelligence, claiming it leads to healthier relationships and personal growth. But Schopenhauer, long before modern psychology took shape, cautioned against this view. He believed that a man who exposes too much emotional vulnerability often changes the way he is perceived, especially by women. While society may applaud emotional transparency, many women may subconsciously lose respect for men who appear overly emotional. Traits like strength, stability, and resilience are still deeply associated with masculine appeal, whether consciously acknowledged or not. Contemporary research supports this idea. Studies indicate that men who express sadness or fear are frequently viewed as less attractive or competent compared to those who maintain a calm, composed demeanor. Schopenhauer referred to this as part of the natural order, an evolutionary dynamic where women are drawn to strength and reliability, not fragility. This isn't an attack on women. It's a commentary on human nature. Society may promote openness as a virtue, but for men, excessive vulnerability can backfire, alienating the very people they're trying to connect with. In reality, what's marketed as emotional growth can be a trap. A man might believe he's building trust by being open, only to find himself emotionally exposed and eventually rejected. Schopenhauer's warning: be cautious. In a world that often weaponizes honesty, Emotional exposure can be dangerous, not just in personal relationships, but within societal systems that may use it against you. Marriage is typically portrayed as a sacred union built on love, trust, and mutual support. From an early age, most people are taught to believe that it's about two people uniting to build a life and family together, but Schopenhauer offered a more sobering interpretation. He believed that marriage, especially for men, could be a cleverly disguised trap, an arrangement that appears beneficial on the surface but leaves men exposed and at risk once inside. To him, marriage wasn't a romantic ideal, but part of nature's grand design, a mechanism to ensure reproduction. And society, over time, refined that natural system into a social construct that benefits from men's labor, sacrifice, and loyalty, while offering them little protection in return. The institution of marriage, in this view, is nature's bait and society's snare. The powerful emotions we associate with love and attraction aren't accidental. They're deeply rooted in biology. Nature designed these feelings to encourage reproduction. But once that instinct is triggered, society steps in and reshapes the experience entirely. Over time, social structures, cultural expectations, and legal systems, especially those tied to marriage, have been built in ways that often put men at a disadvantage. A good example of this is the modern no-fault divorce. Originally introduced to allow individuals, particularly women, to leave unhappy marriages without needing to prove abuse or infidelity, the intention seemed fair. No one should be trapped in a toxic relationship. However, this system has often had unintended consequences, especially for men. Under these laws, a woman can decide to end the marriage without any wrongdoing on the man's part. He might then lose a large portion of his assets, his home, and in many cases, custody of his children. Years of dedication, working hard, building a life, providing for the family, can be undone in a matter of months based on a unilateral decision. Men are told that marriage is a partnership built on mutual trust. But in reality, when things fall apart, legal systems often place the burden of loss squarely on their shoulders. Schopenhauer anticipated this shift. He warned that society would use men's natural drive for connection and family as a means of influence and control. So, what's the takeaway? It's not about rejecting marriage or relationships, it's about being aware, understand the risks, recognize the systems in place, and protect yourself. What looks like a promise of lifelong love can, for many men, turn into a scenario where everything is on the line. In the past, dating was built around real-life interactions through friends, workplaces, or community circles. But with the rise of social media and dating apps, the entire landscape has changed dramatically. Even though Schopenhauer lived centuries before smartphones, he had a striking insight. The more options a person has, the more difficult it becomes to form genuine emotional bonds. Today, platforms like Instagram and Tinder flood users, especially women, with constant attention. With a single post or swipe, a woman can receive dozens or even hundreds of responses and compliments. This endless stream of validation can create a mindset of always seeking something better, making it harder to commit. For men, the experience is usually the opposite. Gaining attention often requires a great deal of effort. Perfecting profiles, crafting thoughtful messages, trying to stand out, only to be ignored or passed over. The dating world has shifted from mutual connection to a kind of status-based competition. Schopenhauer's warning rings true. When one group has endless options, the value of connection declines. Love becomes less about commitment and more about social ranking. Men find themselves investing time, effort, and resources in the hopes of being seen, while women often have the luxury of choosing from a crowd. This new dating arena isn't just challenging, It's strategic. Likes, matches, and messages have become the new currency, and the emotional stakes are higher than ever. If you're a man navigating this environment, understanding the dynamics at play is essential. You're not just looking for love. You're stepping into a battlefield where the rules have changed. While it's easy to point fingers at external forces, relationships, the legal system, or social platforms, Schopenhauer believed the most powerful form of control comes from within. The real trap, he argued, is mental. From a young age, many men are conditioned to suppress their instincts. Being assertive, confident, or self-reliant is often labeled as problematic or toxic. Over time, this messaging teaches men that their worth is measured not by who they are, but by what they can provide, be it time, money, or emotional labor. This mindset becomes a self-imposed prison. Men begin to second-guess their choices constantly. Should I say how I feel, or will I upset someone? Is it okay to prioritize my needs, or does that make me selfish? Do I even deserve to take a stand for myself? These questions don't come from weakness. They come from years of conditioning. Society has trained men to view their desires as dangerous and their boundaries as negotiable. Schopenhauer's insight remains clear. Before men can reclaim control over their lives, they must first break free from the belief systems that keep them compliant. The most powerful form of freedom starts by recognizing and rejecting the mental frameworks designed to keep you small. Schopenhauer referred to this inner struggle as the will turned inward, a concept where your own thoughts become your greatest obstacle. Instead of stepping into your potential, you end up doubting yourself, suppressing your voice, and accepting unfair expectations placed upon you. You start to believe that you don't deserve to take control of your life. His message was clear. The real battle isn't always external. Often the strongest chains are mental. If you want to reclaim your strength and freedom, it starts with unlearning the lies and choosing to trust your instincts once more. Every 30 seconds, a man somewhere in the world takes his life. In Western nations, men make up nearly 75% of all suicides, one of the most critical risk factors, divorce. Studies show that when men go through separation, their chances of facing extreme mental distress and even suicide rise sharply. Schopenhauer foresaw this long before it became a statistical reality. He understood that when men feel blamed, unsupported, and hopeless, some will lose the will to keep going. From a young age, men are taught to be providers, to hide their struggles, and to never show vulnerability. Their value becomes tied to what they can do for others, not who they are. And when life gets hard, be it through a breakup, job loss, or personal failure, many men are left to suffer in silence. Often, instead of compassion, they're met with blame. This is a silent emergency. Men feel like they've failed, even when the system has failed them. Schopenhauer's warning still applies. When all the pressure is placed on one side without support, some will collapse under the weight. It's time we start acknowledging this reality and create a world where men are heard, supported, and seen, not judged. If you or someone you know is struggling, don't hesitate to seek help. You're not alone. The 3 lies that keep men powerless. List number 1, love will save you. We're raised to believe that romantic love, especially a woman's love, is the key to happiness. But Schopenhauer saw it differently. He understood love as a powerful biological drive meant to serve nature's agenda, not necessarily a path to lifelong joy. For many men, it becomes a lifelong pursuit of giving, sacrificing, and hoping to be enough. Line number 2, your value lies in what you do. From early on, men are taught their worth is measured by their output, their paycheck, time, or usefulness to others. But your true value isn't defined by productivity. It lies in your identity, not your utility. Bit 3. You are always to blame. Whenever things go wrong, society often points the finger at men. Whether it's a relationship falling apart or emotional pain, the message is often, "You must have done something wrong." Instead of being supported, men are conditioned to self-blame. These three lies keep men constantly working, constantly doubting, and rarely feeling like they're enough. 3 steps to reclaim your power. Step 1. Become mentally sovereign. Stop living for the approval of others. Society tells you to mold yourself into the perfect partner, employee, or friend. But freedom begins when you define your own values and stop living to meet external expectations. Set boundaries, speak your truth, and ask yourself regularly, what do I want? When you start living on your own terms, you reclaim your autonomy and strength. Step 2. Turn pain into power. Every man faces hardship, but adversity doesn't have to break you. It can sharpen you. History's greatest figures transformed suffering into legacy. Beethoven composed his masterpieces while deaf. Nietzsche battled inner demons while shaping modern philosophy. Van Gogh only sold 1 painting during his life, but transformed the art world forever. Don't let pain consume you. Let it forge you. Use heartbreak, rejection, and setbacks as fuel to evolve into the man you were born to be. Step 3. Embrace the long game. In a world of instant gratification, patience is your advantage. While women often experience peak social power earlier in life, a man's influence, wisdom, and value grow with age if he invests in himself. As Schopenhauer once noted, time humbles women and elevates men. So instead of chasing short-term wins, build yourself. Focus on skills, health, financial stability, and personal development. Over time, your presence will command respect, not because of what you have, but because of who you've become. Most people would rather stay stuck than face hard truths, and that's why so many remain trapped. But you're still here, which means something inside you wants more. That's your will. Still alive, still fighting. If this message resonates with you, type "will" in the comments below. And if you're ready to move from insight to action, watch the next video, because what comes next isn't just content. It's your blueprint for freedom.